Hello and welcome to the Sparkling Autos YouTube channel for the fourth and final episode of this filthy Peugeot mini-series. Now that the car has been deep cleaned and fully decontaminated, all remains is to use a little polish, some dressing and finally a good coat of protection. So make sure you stick around to the end to see this incredible transformation. Starting with the glass then, and I'm returning to the Autobrite Direct 6 steps of detailing kit, and this is their glass polish clear view. So whilst everything has been thoroughly cleaned with multiple types of products, the various processes have still left residue on the glass. A glass polish like this is perfect for this type of staining, but I also found them to be extremely effective on water spots and any bug remains or bird poo stains that washing or even ordinary glass cleaners just won't shift. I know some people can be a little confused or even nervous when it comes to glass polish, so I'll try and clear up some of that confusion. Basically, there's two types of glass polish. There's products like this one, which are great for stains, water spots, and just generally deep cleaning your glass. You can apply them by hand with a microfiber applicator, like you see me doing here, or to save you time and energy, you can use a machine polisher, but do be prepared for some fling if you go down that route. The second type of polish is generally much more specialised. Products like Car Pro Ceraglass, which contain a metal oxide called cerium oxide. I won't go into this in too much detail in this video, as I plan on doing something like this in the future, but basically it is a cutting compound of glass polishes and can be used to actually remove minor defects in glass, things like wiper marks and minor scratches. But we'll return to that another day. For now, I want to share with you just how effective the first type of glass polish can be, and as you can see, I'm practically gliding the applicator with the tiniest amount of product, which is removing these stains absolutely effortlessly. It's also great for polycarbonate areas like your tail lights and headlights. Contrary to popular belief, your car's headlights aren't actually made from glass and haven't been for around 30 years, but the same products can still be used to clean them. When it comes to the front windscreen, or windshield for our American cousins, I'm sure I'm not the only one who gets these water spots in around the edges that glass cleaners can sometimes struggle with. Well again, that's where a product like Clearview is worth trying. It's also particularly good on the windscreen if you find vision on a wet night isn't as good as it could be. A really quick, almost effortless application of this will help to deep clean your glass, massively improving clarity and making driving in poor conditions much safer. Especially as there are no waxes or silicones in this glass polish, which might cause the wipers to smear. One thing to be careful with, like most polishes, is to avoid contact with rubber seals and plastic trims. It won't do them any harm, but you might get some white staining which you'll have to remove separately. Hence, I'm getting as close to the edge as possible without going over. I will admit that I'm deviating from Autobrite's instructions slightly here, as they recommend applying in straight lines, whereas my preferred method is to apply in a crosshatch circular motion. It shouldn't really matter which way you do this, the main thing is to ensure that you cover all areas. You can leave it to dwell for 3 to 5 minutes and it should be ready to buff off. But because it's so easy to apply, I find the 3 to 5 minute window is more than enough time to go around and apply it to all of the exterior glass, as in my experience, leaving it longer than 5 minutes doesn't make it any more difficult to remove. Within reason, obviously. I wouldn't leave it overnight or anything, but an extra few minutes will do it no harm. So when it comes to buffing off, you can either use a dedicated glass towel or do what I'm doing here and use a decent quality low pile microfiber cloth. I have some dedicated glass cloths that I don't potentially want to clog up with polish residue, and I plan on following this up with another product anyway, so using these is absolutely fine. Now I appreciate that it might not be the easiest thing to pick up on camera, but buffing this off was almost as easy as putting it on. And also really satisfying that you can literally feel how clean the glass is when you're doing it. Now you could leave it there and move on to the bodywork, but personally I think that'd be a missed opportunity to not apply a glass sealant or even a repellent glass cleaner at this stage. The ideal choice would be to follow up Clearview with Autobrite's own Repel glass sealant, but as I hadn't really planned this video in advance and didn't have any Repel on the shelves, I just went with a sample from another brand that I've had for some time and I have been meaning to try it out. So this is Vision from Autoglance. Now I should confirm at this stage that Vision isn't a glass sealant, it's a water repellent glass cleaner. Whilst both may have similar effects at first, This type of product will typically be much easier to apply, but might only last a few weeks at best, certainly on the front windscreen, whereas a proper glass sealant can be somewhat more complicated, but can actually last for months, if not longer, when properly applied. For today, and given I was trying this entire job in around 12 hours, this was an ideal choice to finish the glass. Now the application of this could not be any simpler. It's applied exactly as you would with a glass cleaner. Funny enough, as that's what it is, a glass cleaner with water repellent properties. You simply spray it onto the glass, 2 to 3 sprays depending on the size of the glass, then rub it in with your chosen glass cloth as it flashes off. If you've applied more than you need and it isn't flashing, simply flip the cloth over and use the other side. Okay, maybe more than 2 to 3 sprays in the windscreen. Now unfortunately, I've absolutely no information about how this product performed. This was recorded at the start of May 23, and I don't think it rained for about 5 or 6 weeks after that, nor have I seen much of this car since then, so let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in a proper test. For now though, I think we'll call it a day on the glass and move on to the paintwork. For the first of the finishing stages on the paintwork, I'm sticking with the Autobrite 6 steps kit, this time using cherry glaze. Disclaimer alert, this will probably be the first time in over a decade that I will have used a clay bar and not followed this up with some correction via the use of a machine polisher. However, I had never intended to carry out any correction work, and my target was to do this entire car, which is everything you've seen across all 4 episodes, in around 12 hours. This included filament time and of course meals and coffee breaks, so machine polishing was never going to be factored in. That being said, with the exception of the bonnet and part of the front wing, the majority of the paintwork was in relatively good condition and the amount of claying required was minimal, to the point where a clay mitt probably would have sufficed. But returning to cherry glaze, and I have to admit this is one of the most user-friendly polishes I've ever picked up. You just have to remember that this is an all-in-one polish, it's not a polishing compound, so it's never going to remove any defects. However, the glazing elements will fill in or mask some light swirls and watermarks here or there. So as always, it's important to have realistic expectations about what a product's capable of. What this can do, and I found it did really well, was act as a paintwork cleanser, prior to applying some sort of protection, which we'll come to later in the video. It gives the paintwork a nice smooth, gloss enhanced finish, ready to be locked in with your chosen wax or sealant. Now it does also contain its own waxes, but like any all-in-one product, the result of each aspect, the polish, the glaze or the wax, they're always going to be a compromise, so don't expect that wax protection to last any more than 4 to 6 weeks. Hence, as I mentioned, I will apply some other protection product over this a little later. Like I said, application is incredibly easy. It's actually a water-based product, so it doesn't dry out or dust, and you can do multiple panels at a time, apparently even in direct sunlight. As this is such a small car, I applied it to the entire vehicle before removing it, and I do mean the entire vehicle. As mentioned, the fact this is a water-based product means you can use it on all of the vehicle's exterior, including black plastic trim. It won't leave any white residue, and in fact I've even seen people using it as a step to restore faded trim, although I didn't do that on this occasion, largely due to the lack of faded trim on this car, although I did find it was particularly effective on the chrome style trims. And as for buffing it off, again it came off with absolute ease and left a noticeable improvement in the paintwork's appearance. Who says you can't make a white car look glossy? Of course, it'd be rude not to continually graze the paintwork with the back of your hand as you're buffing it. Or is that just me that does that? I think that just about covers the polishing stage, so on now to the next finishing product. Tyre dressing next, and from step 6 of the same kit, this is a product called Classy Satin Tyre and Rubber Dressing. So this should be exactly what it says on the bottle, a classy looking satin finish dressing for tyres and rubber. Nothing confusing or misleading about that label. To apply the product, I'm going to use a method that I've watched Martin from the Obsessive Car Detailer channel use for quite some time, which is to use a detailing brush, so let's see how that goes. half a dozen sprays around the tyre. Now remember, this is a sample bottle, so this would be the equivalent of 1 or 2 sprays from a normal bottle with a full size trigger, and then a few sprays directly into the brush bristles to help spread rather than absorb the product. So I just worked the product in, going back and forth over the entire sidewall a couple of times, and then left it for a couple of minutes before removing the excess with an old microfiber cloth. Now, given that these tyres had likely never been properly cleaned or dressed since new, the initial finish was definitely leaning towards the matte side of satin, so I decided to repeat the process with a second coat. And I'm sure you'll agree that that's a much better finish, so I'll go and do the remaining tyres and we can move on to the final stage. So for the final product in this 4-part bonanza, we've yet another sample product from the Autobrite Direct 6 Steps of Detailing kit, which is a gloss enhancing spray called Project 64. Now this isn't a ceramic sealant or indeed any kind of long-term protection. It's actually marketed more as a product to maintain or top up existing protection, so it would be wrong to expect 6 to 12 months durability here. Nor does it claim anything like that. However, when used in combination with the cherry glaze polish, I would expect maybe up to 8 to 10 weeks before having to reapply it. And if I haven't already mentioned this, unlike in the first 3 videos in this mini-series, all of the products in part 4 are being used for the very first time, so you're just getting my initial reactions to them. And so far I haven't been disappointed. Time to find out if that momentum continues with Project 64. So, an expression you hear a lot in this industry is a little goes a long way, but that couldn't be more accurate with this stuff. Even using it from a sample bottle, a couple of sprays to prime the application cloth, and then 3 more on the bonnet was more than enough to give it a generous coat, as you'll see here when it comes to buffing it off. Now, I always say that pre-washing a filthy car is one of the most satisfying feelings I get in detailing, but buffing off an extremely slick finishing product is definitely up there too, as is the spinny cloth test. Just watch this slickness. So slick the cloth nearly hit the deck, but all silliness aside, the slickness of this product is unbelievable. Now that could be down to the fact that just a few hours ago that bonnet felt like an armadillo with psoriasis, whereas now it feels as slick as you can imagine. But the fact remains that this is quite possibly the most enjoyable, user-friendly product that I've used in this entire 6 Steps of Detailing kit, and that is saying something. It's using products like this that makes me wonder why I'd never used a single Autobrite Direct product before my Magifoam test last year, despite the brand being almost 20 years old. But that one review made me realise something that I think I'd forgotten since I started doing YouTube, which was that I'm supposed to be enjoying using these products, not always looking for the most durable or most effective. I know some of my viewers are professionals in this industry, presumably only here for my charm and personality, but this is a hobby for me and the majority of viewers, and really, what good is a hobby if you're not enjoying it? And on that rather philosophical note, I'm going to finish applying the Project 64 to the rest of the car, and we can take a look at some very satisfying before and after shots. I know it might be hard to believe, especially as the first video in this 4-part series was uploaded over 2 months ago, but this entire process was carried out over a single 12-hour session. That included all the equipment setup, diluting products, constantly moving the camera equipment, charging batteries, drinking copious amounts of coffee and eating a cupboard full of biscuits. There was a lot of sweating, swearing and some splashing, but as always, it was very satisfying. I started out with a car that was in desperate need of some TLC, not to mention the vegetation growing in the boot jam, or the extra dried in paint making the bonnet feel like it had all the slickness and smoothness of a dropped cinder block. But thanks to some elbow grease and a random selection of nearly 20 products, I don't think it's too arrogant to say that I got it looking brand new again. I think I'm justified in saying that this was a pretty good result. Yes, I would have preferred to machine polish it after the clay bar, and yes, I would have preferred to add perhaps a 12-month coating, but this was a favour for a family member and a chance to try out a few different products at the end, so I'm delighted with how things turned out, as was the owner. Now if you've made it this far into the video, you genuinely have my utmost gratitude, and if you've watched all 4 parts, then I cannot thank you enough. So I'll leave you with a few more finished shots. I'll once again thank you very much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you on the next one. Take care.